Welcome to the Hero's Journey podcast, the sacred space where you can kiss your doubt goodbye and embark with confidence and love on your quest to become the hero on your journey back to wholeness. Together with brilliant minds, we venture into the unknown to reweave and mend what is torn and to patch what is missing. And I'm so excited to have Dib with me today for our second part and really getting to know him on a more personal level. On our first part, we were diving deeper into AI and just tech and how this has to do with consciousness. And I'm actually really excited about today's episode because I've been working with you. And I think we've scratched a little bit about the surface, like how you got into this work. But we were both like really present with whatever that it is right now that I actually never really I think I actually really don't know how you got into this type of work when you started to work on your consciousness or just like opening up to all these ideas and how you became the person you are today. So welcome, Dib. I'm so excited to have you here. And how are you doing? How are you feeling today?
I'm doing fabulous today, and I know you are as well. So yeah, I'm excited to talk all about that, share about it. Um, I'm still finding out when did the work truly begin, because for that I need to define what does the work mean. What does the term work mean? And like doctor, I know like within our community we sort of like use the term work to mean Dr. Joe's model of teachings, doing his meditations, going to his retreat. That's like usually what people mean. But for me, it's more like uh, getting to a state of my own knowingness, discovering who I truly am, and how much freedom do I have with my reality, how malleable is my reality, and how much freedom and control do I have on that, over that. And exactly knowing how my reality relates to me, how everybody relates to me, that is the definition of work. And that's what I realized recently. Like when I started Dr. Joe, I felt like, okay, I'll
Mm-hmm.
go to this one meditation retreat and I'll sort of just go for the manifestations that I wanted in my life at that point of time, that I thought I wanted, and I'll get them, and that's it. I'll go to this first retreat, and maybe after four years, if I feel like it, I'll go to another retreat. How hard is it to meditate, right? Like you don't need a retreat to teach you how to meditate. That was my
Exactly,
mindset when I was
exactly.
like, yeah, and that's what my mindset was when I was contemplating registering for Dr. Joe's retreat. And even after registration, I was like, okay, fine, that's like, too much money going into this. Like, you pay for the retreat, then you pay for the hotel, and so I was like, yeah, probably not worth doing it too frequently. Maybe I do it today once, and then maybe after a couple of years I'll do it again if I feel like it. That was my mindset. uh, but I didn't know that I would be doing like 12 retreats in 2 years.
Wow, 12. Wow, that is insane.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and
I have a question though. How did you discover him in the first place? Or like, yes, of course, we refer to the work, what we do, kind of, or like inside the Joe Dispenza community, like you said. But also in general, like this whole topic of pursuing the question, who am I actually? Is this all that there is in life for me? Or is there more in store? Like, who are we? Is this like what happens after we die? Or are we simply just a body? Or are we more than that? Before you got to those retreats, like, were you always interested in spirituality? And how did you end up, getting to know all of these kind of concepts? That's what I'm really curious about. I remember I was not into spirituality at all, and not into, that type of work and taking care of my mind, taking care of my brain, taking care of my body. And now it's like the essence of who I am. So I'm curious how this has unfolded for you.
Yeah, that's a very relevant next question, and that's like a beautiful one. Um, so, unbeknownst to me, I was studying this since I was conscious of myself. So, like, I remember when I was a very young child, like maybe, I don't know, what age do you start remembering uh, things around you? I think it was like maybe 3, 4, 5 years
Mm.
young. And I remember that my dad used to make me read these books, uh, and these books were written by spiritual leaders. They belong to the Vedantic Hindu tradition, and these were like monks and all. But their ideas were not religious. Their ideas were about the engineering of the brain, the consciousness, the power of the mind, and how, like, they were like the Vedantic teachings, like how the consciousness is
Mm.
everything. Consciousness is creating our reality. Every like sentient and insentient things around us is made up of consciousness. So I was reading this from a very early age. Like before I used to go to bed, I used to read like 1 page or 2 page. My dad used to like sit beside me. He used to make me read those things, and then he used to explain it to me. Like, read this. It's like the confidence, the power that you actually have within you. So that was something he used to teach me from very early on. And he
Mm.
has been a lifelong meditator, and he himself has
Wow.
studied in those environments. um, and he used to make me meditate, like even like 5 minutes a day. uh, Ideally he wanted me to do it more, but then I was very I used to like jumping around, so I didn't like sitting down and meditating. So I used to like meditate maybe 15 minutes a day before a test or a examination, and when the test is over, my wishes are granted, I would just stop meditating. um, so uh, so that's how I was. But I always liked having the idea, having the knowledge that I can do anything. And that's why I never liked having any limits imposed on me. Like, let's say if somebody says, okay, you can do uh, almost 80% of the things, but maybe the 20% you should like let go. Maybe you cannot get that rest of the 20%. I just like my body would just start reacting to that. I mean, I just had a very visceral reaction to those kind of concept,
Mm.
that why is it I can do 80% of the things and not the 20% remaining 20%? If everything is consciousness, if my mind is that powerful, then why cannot I change anything to be exactly like I want it to be? And that's something that has remained in my knowledge bank ever since I was growing up. And like when I
Mm.
was a young child, I knew that I was exploring a certain theme in my life. It's more of a personal theme, and I knew that there was a lot of social stigma and social like good and bad, religious, social, cultural aspects related to that stigma, that theme that I was exploring. But I just knew it that I would have it my way. I just knew that I'm going to do exactly what I want to do on my own terms, and the society just has to rearrange itself around me. I'm not going to compromise anything. And that's
I
exactly
love
how it
that.
has played out.
That's so cool.
Um,
I love that.
yeah, so that's how it was happening. I did my education from, like, I went to my, I mean, certain parts I was like never really interested in. Like, I was never really interested in having a career. Like, when I was young, and if somebody had asked me what did I want to be when I grew up, I would give them different answers depending on what I thought I needed to do based on what other people were saying. And so, like, anyways, I did my education, and most of those were like very ego based. Like, I would sometimes perform really well in my school, and sometimes I would just let go. I would like just not care about it, just get the bare minimum. So it was like inconsistent. But now I understand that it wasn't inconsistency. It was just that's how energy is, because energy is not consistent. It doesn't say, okay, I'm going to move in you after 5 p.m. on Friday so that you can your work remains unimpacted. It doesn't say that. It's like it moves whenever it needs to move, however it needs to move, right? So that is how, like, I've had this background of knowledge all throughout my life. And then when I was like when I moved to US and did my master's in US from one of the universities in United States, and joined my work, that's when I sort of like noticed that I was programming myself according to the culture. I was self-programming myself. Like, nobody was saying anything. And at that point of time, I was going a major transition in life. Also, like, from an emotional perspective, like, I was in a relationship at that point of time in college, and I was like, we had like not a very good amicable breakup. And so I was trying to process that, and I was like being a good victim. I was playing the role of an amazing victim at that point of time. And at that point of time, again, I sort of like got pulled back to this whole concept of consciousness, how presence is like the most important thing, and how everything is shaped by us. I was learning those things, and I was like listening to it over and over again, but I didn't know how to use it. And that's where Dr. Joe came into place, because before Dr. Joe, I did another workshop. It's called the Silva Mind Training. So I did it at did it in New Haven in New York, like close to New York. And in that that workshop, the instructor is a Dr. Joe community member, and he talked about Dr. Joe. He said that Dr. Joe also uses something very similar. It's like reducing the waves of the brain to a lower frequency, and then reprogramming it. And that's when I right before that, I had also read Dr. Joe's books, and I felt that they resonated really well, because at that phase of time I was like basically repeating my days exactly in a very boring way. And so that's why I knew that I would have to do something with Dr. Joe at some point of time. But like when I went to that retreat, the Silver Mind Method workshop, I got that first signal that okay, the next stop will be Dr. Joe. So I went to Dr. Joe. Like right after that, my life sort of accelerated, like my spiritual growth. Like after I did the Silver Mind Method workshop, because even there I went into my subconscious. I made contact with my subconscious mind, and I had my intention very clear that these are the things I want in life. I don't want to like be in this boring rut. And and that's right after that my life started shifting, though the shift didn't look like what I wanted. Like there was those were like needed for me to like go to that space of that that space of the other side of the pendulum, where the rhythm of your life stops and you start moving back to the other direction. It's like you start going down the ladder of consciousness into that one point beyond which your soul doesn't want to go, and your soul sort of like pulls you by the ear. Okay, nope, you're done, now let's go the other way, you have to go up now. that's where I went to, and it came on my birthday in New York, in 2023. I remember that it was the worst birthday ever, and I was in a very bad state. And I decided at that point of time, like something within me woke up, and I decided that I'm not going to let this repeat ever again in my life. And that's how, and I just felt really relaxed after that. And then I went to my retreat in November. You and I shared the same birthday, so it was in October, and then I went to the retreat on November, and things completely changed. Like, I came back from the retreat a completely different person, very, very present. That's what I wanted. I wanted to feel at home in my body, just that, when I went to the first retreat, because I had so many thoughts, so many background noise going on in my mind all the time, and they were all very negative. Uh, those things I didn't want at all. Very victim based, very woe be me. I wanted to get rid of all of those. I just wanted to feel unbreakable. So I went to the retreat. I came back, and I was wondering, who am I now? Did the body change, or did the consciousness change? Um, that was the first one. That was the first major shift. So I went from 0 to 100 in one retreat, and I knew that I wasn't the same person. I had brought back this other consciousness that was slowly beginning to work within me. Um, and from then onwards, I think I've gone through 600 deaths every single day, sometimes twice a day. And I've just changed completely. It's hard to tell my parents
Yeah.
that, or the friends I know, that you are talking to the same body, but then I cannot relate to you anymore.
Yes. Yes. That is so true. I'm curious, during that retreat, um, what was it difficult for you? How were your meditations? What did you become aware of? Certain emotions or certain beliefs, and how did you move through them? People have all very unique experiences on those retreats. And then the second part of my question would be, you already mentioned you had 600 deaths since then, or even more. It's like suddenly you're so aware of all the things that are going on within you. How did you manage to integrate everything and keep on doing the work? Because there's a difference. You're on a retreat, it's like a kind of protected bubble, because you do nothing else but meditate, and you're surrounded with people who meditate. You're surrounded with this beautiful energy, and then you go back home, and then it's up to you to sustain it. But you will be not in this protective bubble anymore. You will be confronted with initiations and everything. So I'm curious how this, how do you say that in English? This transition was for you.
Okay. So I'll go with the first question first. I think the first question was that, how were my meditations and what did I discover and become aware of in the first retreat, right? So just a very fun fact, when I went to my first retreat, I had told my friends, and I was in a post breakup phase, and I was just dating casually. So I had told this person I was seeing, I told her that I was going to a real estate conference. I told everybody, all my friends in New York, even my parents. I think, yeah, even my parents. I told everybody that I was going to a real estate conference, because the people around me, they knew meditations, but they were not familiar with the terms energy and stuff that I wanted to dive deeper into, right? And the funny thing I noticed is that everybody I was sitting around for the first, I think, 3 or 4 days at the meditation retreat, everybody was a realtor. Like the woman that was sitting beside me the first day, she was a realtor from North Carolina. The second day also I was sitting beside a realtor. So that was very interesting. Like I was being surrounded by the energy that I had mentioned I was going into. And like as far as the meditations go, at that point of time, I was just very, I didn't know what I wanted to do at the retreat. Like I knew that I wanted some kind of change. I wanted some kind of relief from the way I was feeling at that point of time. And I knew that I wanted to manifest love and freedom, because I thought that money is what I wanted, because I was like really unhappy at the company I was working, the whole company, the whole tech industry. I was completely done with that kind of work. So that's why my thought was, okay, if I manifest a lump sum amount of money, I can retire, I can pay the US government a lump sum of money and get my citizenship or visa, like an investor kind of a visa, and just take care of all of these threads that have been going on for a lot of time and have been like taking up lots of space in my brain. I just wanted to free my mind from all of these things and just be free. I wanted complete. I was very attracted to the word sovereignty that Dr. Joe mentioned, and I heard it for the first time in a long time. I think the last time I had heard sovereign was in history book, when I was reading about the British colonial system in India and all of that. So I was like really attracted to that word. Like I wanted that word more and more. And that's what I wanted, like complete freedom. Nobody gets to say anything that I don't want to experience. And nobody makes me do that unless I choose to have that experience myself. And so my meditations were kind of confusing. I was like trying to just hold on to one intention, but then I noticed I have so many things I want to manifest. I like want to attract the right partner. I want to attract the right kind of life that allows me freedom. I want to attract money. So I was like going into things, like I thought, okay, these things would lead to a life that I wanted. So they were like, okay, just because I already had this practice of a Silva mind method, I was kind of using that technique. Like the Silva mind method has this amazing technique where you sort of relax the different parts of your body, and that puts one into alpha immediately. Like within like 5 minutes you go into alpha. So I found that it was a little difficult for me to go into that alpha state just by Dr. Joe's meditation or voice. I needed that extra layer of Silva mind method. So I was combining both of those. And even later on, I sort of created a couple of meditations that includes the intro part of Silva mind method, and then it sort of segues into Dr. Joe's meditation. And that's what I was doing. And I mean, they were like, okay, I was having a hard time feeling the emotions. Sometimes there were like, I think like fear that, oh, am I in alpha or is this low beta? I'm thinking I must not be in void. Do you think in void? Are you supposed to have emotions in void? All these kinds of like technicalities were coming into my mind. But eventually I noticed that, and also the breath, I was like comparing myself, because the woman who was sitting next to me, during her, just at her first breath, like the first breath she did, she collapsed beside me. Like she went unconscious and she fell down from the chair. So I didn't know what was going on. So anyways, like I was like still trying to get the breath. Like I was, I knew I was doing it. I was doing something because I was feeling something in my brain. But she had, and later she told me that that was like the ultimate experience. She saw some lights and all that stuff, and that sort of gave me this what do you say, like the peer pressure, like, oh, am I supposed to have that experience? Is my experience not good enough? Because my experience is very like like, what do you say, very quiet. It's not something that's, it's not loud, it's not announcing itself. There is no big violent movements in my body, nothing. It's very quiet and disciplined. So I was thinking all those thoughts, but I noticed that there was something in me that kept saying that whatever you're doing is perfectly fine for you, and it kept giving me the understanding why it is perfectly fine. It gave me the understanding that what am I doing with the breath, that I'm actually trying to activate my pineal gland with a specific frequency, right? That's what Dr. Joe's model teaches us. So what if my frequency is different from the frequency that she needs? So these kind of like knowledge, it started coming to me. I don't know from where, but that something in me wanted me to stick with this work. It didn't want to like just abandon ship and go back to saying that it doesn't work. Hey, MC. All right.
Welcome
Yeah,
back.
thank you. Yeah, I know that today is going to be a little bit disruptive as far as an energy goes, because like last night, since last afternoon, I've been releasing a lot of energy related to a very specific situation in my life. So it's going to be a little bit chaotic, but chaos is always good. It leads to the deeper order. So let's flow with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can
So I think
simply pick up where you believe you left the room.
okay. I think I was rambling too much. Yeah, I think basically what I was trying to say is that the first retreat, I wasn't sure what I was doing. I was just trying to do something, like get something out of it, not be too specific as to how it happens, where it happens. I was just surrendering more. And then the major change happened when during the second walking meditation and the healings, like during the second healing, that's when I had the heart opening experience, because that's when I sort of like got to a state of presence and heart opening. And I used to have this thought about being an outsider. Like I always felt that the things that people want in their life and the things that I was wanting was somehow not meant for me, or I was somehow not supposed to get those. That was sort of like an internal programming I had, partly mostly done by me, and also by looking at other people, just by seeing what people said about certain things. And I remember during the second healing, my heart completely broke open, and I had my like mouth open. I wasn't shouting or crying, but my jaw was stuck. It's like when you're like on a roller coaster that's going down, you're like scared, you want to shout, but then your jaw remains stuck. That's what happened. And I just felt this love come through me, and it sort of like washed away all the unworthiness, and it just said that you're worthy. And that was a big turning point. And like after that retreat, I just became very still. I still did not have I now realize that it activated a blueprint in me that I always knew I was supposed to live. And since I was very young, I've been getting bits and pieces of it in my memory, that okay, this is how, like, you get the fragments of visions that you see things, like you're supposed to live in a certain place, you're wearing a certain attire. So those are the things that
Yeah.
I had remembered. It was as if like I was supposed to go on the highway, but I had taken a early exit. Um, and that first retreat activated that blueprint. It sort of like opened me up, even though I don't remember at that point. I didn't know any of that. And a very specific thing happened, like the last day of the retreat. I was kind of a little worried that, okay, I'm going to go back to my life. What if I lose this amazing feeling? What if those like voices come back in my head? And there was this guy sitting beside me. That guy was going through a divorce himself. And I could sense that the feelings that I had, like the unworthiness around being receiving love, having the partner that I desired, and that like the lack of that was in him. I could just sense it. And he was talking about it, and then he uh, started talking about this woman who was also present in the retreat. And he mentioned that his roommate had fallen in love with this other woman in the retreat, and like uh, all that stuff. And he had actually asked for her number, and I think his roommate was from New York as well, most likely Indian as well. uh, and his age, her age, he told me all of that. And I was like, and there was a funny thing, like during the retreat, like all 7 days, I used to do the workshops, like the full workshop. I didn't miss any meditation, didn't miss any lecture. I was like just drinking from a well. I was like a thirsty traveler who had been given some knowledge, and I wanted to like just like take it in completely. And I used to go back to my room, and before going to bed, I used to meditate every single night. I used to do the generous present moment meditation. So I was like doing all the meditations during the workshop, and on top of that, I was like doing my own meditation, like Dr. Joe meditation, generous present moment before going to bed. And I remember one night I was doing the meditation, and then this blue fractal started entering me. It was very clear, very like navy, electric blue kind of a fractal. It started just like going into me, and the next day I saw this woman in the retreat, uh, and my heart just stopped for a long time. And there was this feeling, I know her, and it was the most amazing feeling. And I noticed immediately this other part of me said, "You're unworthy of it. She would never like you." It just like came up with a whole bunch of reasons, like without even knowing who she is, how she is, what she likes or dislikes. It just created this whole version of her and gave me all the reasons why I shouldn't even think about pursuing her, or like asking her out, or like talking to her, any of that. And on the last day, this guy who was talking to me about his roommate who had fallen in love with this amazing woman, I had a knowing that this was that woman, and I didn't know who she was at that point of time. I was like, okay, fine, great for them. Uh, I mean, like, what can I say? Like, I had all these reasons why she is never supposed to be with me. I mean, I had these reasons why I had to, like, she belonged to him but not me. That was like how it came out. So I went back to my life and uh, my job. The major change that happened was that I became fully remote at that point of time. And that's something I wanted to go deep into this work. Like, I wanted this to be my full-time job, and my day job just to support me in this, that was my mindset. That, okay, this is more important to me. I want to have my full uh, like the full knowledge of myself and the full being, live from that divine in me, and for that, whatever support needs will be given to me. That was my mindset. I was like not negotiating. I
Mm.
was sort of like in a position to command, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that did I answer the question to you? I even forgot what questions you had.
Yes, you answered them. I love it. I'm just like really immersed in your story. So, yes, basically you answered how it was for you, like in those meditations, what came up for you. And I thank you so much for sharing that, because I think many people, they think they are the only ones who are going through that kind of stuff, but everybody is like figuring it out and just in the process, and everybody makes it in their time. And then now we've been, you were telling you just got on with your life and worked fully remote. Is there a happy ending regarding the woman that you were mentioning, or is that out of the window?
Yes, there's a very happy ending to that. Um, and it's like it depends how you define happy, like uh, I mean, to give you another insight, like you were saying that I was sharing these things, but when I share these things now, when I talk about these things, I feel like I'm talking about somebody else's life, and that's why I don't have any
Mm,
emotions attached to it. I mean, I can make as
yes.
much fun of that old life as I want to, and share as much details as I want to, and I couldn't care less. Um, and that's like so this, yeah, I mean, there's a happy ending, but it's been a journey. It's not. So another thing I've always known when I started dating uh, in my adult life is that I knew this very interesting signature of love, and
Mm,
a signature of the person, like the energy that she would have, and that I knew that we would both be going in this direction, like going in the direction of our evolution, but would just be helping each other in that. So I knew that it had to be more in tune with what I wanted, like my spiritual development, even though I wasn't consciously trying, but I wanted to be the main part. And that's why in my previous relationships I never felt grounding, because it seemed like I was completely on a different reality than those other people, than my like partners. Like
yeah.
we wouldn't have the same language, and that's what I thought. That's what I knew that this person was like. And even like after the first retreat, I just thought that she was really uh, like exactly what I wanted, but then I didn't have any inclination to sort of do anything with it. It was like, okay, fine, she's there. I don't know anything about her, so I'll see. And but I had the confidence, I had that knowingness that my dating thing has been taken care of by the field. So when I returned to New York, I deleted all the dating apps. I had a matchmaking service that was I had Talkify. Yeah, a friend had met her partner through Talkify, and she had said, oh, "This is great, try it out." So I was trying it out. I sort of like fought with them and got back my refund, and I said that yeah, I mean, I was like really good at being my own lawyer, so I just like got back my refund. They got kind of scared by my argument, and the lawyer stepped in and she gave me more than I was asking. And I noticed that what I did was that I just like sort of like took a step back. Instead of engaging with the situation, I
Mm,
was like, okay, I'm not engaging with you. This is my term. Let's see what happens. And then I stepped back, and I didn't respond to them. I got an email that, okay, fine, we are issuing this much refund to you. And so I was like completely out of the dating scene, and I felt so good about it. Even the thought of
mm,
installing a dating app created a reaction in my body. I just didn't want to do that.
mm.
Um,
Mm.
so I just like was just practicing the work, going full into this work during that phase. And then I noticed that I didn't want to live in New York anymore. I was going out of New York City every weekend. I was going to this place called Beacon, which is, I used to hike a lot. I and my friends, we used to go hiking almost every weekend. But after the
Oh,
retreat, that
beautiful.
decreased. Uh, I mean, because my friends, they sort of like got busy with their life, and the hiking stopped happening for some reason. Like there was a distance between my friends and me. I didn't know at the time
Mm.
what was happening, but then I allowed it. I didn't like judge it or anything, and I didn't want to be around anyone at that point of time. I just wanted to like go to
Mm.
this hiking place, just be by myself. And in one of those instances in the walking meditation, I remember like the feelings of unworthiness and those things were coming up, and there was this voice that's saying, "Okay, look at that. Everybody else is." It was February, yeah. It was February. I think it was the one of the long weekends that you have in February, and people were going out with their like partners and all, and I was going alone. And there was this voice, and also like I sort of like cut off all the dating and everything that I was doing in New York City. I was like, I just stopped responding because I just knew that those people were not right for me, and I was
Mm.
doing it just because of the idea of dating or being in a relationship. I was not into it at all. I felt better not dating. Um, and in Beacon, I was in this Airbnb, and during the meditation, when all of these thoughts were coming in, I just like decided to make a decision that it doesn't matter. Like, no matter how bad I am, no matter how unworthy I am, I'm still going to get whatever I want to get because that's my decision. Like, heaven and hell may collide, but what I've decided has to come through. And I had this energy flowing through me, like this rage, this reverence towards myself, this knowingness that who I am, and this respect for myself. And with that, I said, and immediately I saw this energy came and joined me. And I remember the moment. It was between 7 and 8 a.m. in the morning. It was a sunlit day, very sunny. And this energy, I remembered what attire she was wearing. I remembered what attire I was wearing in the meditation, the vision I saw. And I saw that we were two whole beings. Like, both of us were very whole in our own way, and we chose to be with each other just because we love each other, just because we wanted to experience deeper love through two bodies. But we were like, the relationship was not based out of any kind of lack or need. That's something I just got as thought
Mm.
impressions while I was in the meditation. And I remembered her attire. And from that day, right after that meditation, I just felt that she was always with me, this energy. And I didn't have to like go anywhere to find anybody else. She was just with me throughout our presence. And I moved out of New York. I was thinking like, where should I go? If I move out. And then I saw that, okay, San Diego retreat is there. Let's do the AFU. It's been 4 months. I wasn't planning to. I thought that I would be good for the next 4 years. But I thought that I'll just go. I'll see. I'm just feeling like doing something. So I just left New York with 2 or 3 bags. I had lots of bags even then. It started reducing slowly. And then I went to the San Diego AFU. And at San Diego, I noticed that, again, those themes around unworthiness and those things were coming up. And the theme of the retreat was molecules of the mistake. it didn't resonate with me. I was like, why is Dr. Joe teaching about mystics and molecules? Who cares about mystics? I didn't even like the word. And um, I had that intention that I wanted to meet this energy that was with me. And I didn't know anything about her for a long time. Um, so during the first reception of the AFU, where usually people dress up as their future selves. So I had dressed up as the vision I had seen in my meditation. I was wearing the same attire, and then in the reception, I saw her wearing the same attire as well. And this was the same woman from the first retreat.
Wow.
But again, like, and I know that she recognized something. I knew there was a voice saying that this is her, because she was wearing exactly the same attire. Her energy was exactly the same. But somehow, like, my logical mind, it so totally like rejected the idea of even talking to her, saying hello, or any of that. It's like, nope, we're not doing that. So that's how it was, like, for a couple of retreats. And eventually at the Denver retreat in 2024, that's when I realized that she and I do have a deep connection, because whenever we would like move past each other, we would have this eye contact, and it was like a very deep eye contact, very deep knowing. And I just felt this enormous amount of love in my heart whenever I was like around her. So that's when I knew that she's the one. And the Denver retreats theme was the love of your life, and that's when I realized that she's the love of my life, because all my meditations were about her. Like, she was hijacking all of my meditations, and I realized that she and I have the same goal. Like, our goal is to find and express the divine within us, and help each other, like be sort of like partners in that journey to develop that higher level of consciousness, both within ourselves and within everyone else. So yeah, that's how the journey has been, and it's still like unraveling, because we are still finding out deeper levels of ourselves. It's very different from a traditional like a dating thing. It's very 5D.
I can understand. Thank you so much for sharing that precious story with us. That's really, really beautiful. Amazing. Yeah, it's fascinating sometimes what there's so people start coming into your life, like, I don't know how to say that. Doesn't always have to be like a love of your life connection, but like there are some meaningful people starting coming into your life that kind of teach you or just like help you grow, and it's always very profound when you meet them, or maybe you just notice them even more when you're doing this kind of work, or just like meditating, becoming more aware and like opening up your consciousness. So that's always really, really beautiful to experience. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
absolutely. Like, we get more aware of how things are mirroring us. We get more aware of the guidance that we are receiving. And I think that's been the second most important thing in my life. Actually, both the love story and the guidance has been connected, because I met my other teacher at the Marco Island AFU. Actually, that teacher, I had met him during my first retreat, through another member in the retreat. But I was not ready. I did not resonate with him at that point of time. So, but at the Marco Island retreat, I met another Dr. Joe community member, and she introduced me to my new teacher. I still didn't know that he would be my teacher, but things started happening, and he's been my teacher for the past since the like September of 2024, and
Mm-hmm.
like all of the major shifts, the major releases that have happened to me are through experiences that were very carefully designed for me to like release those shed those layers of fear. And I realize that now, and it's so beautiful to know that you have that support, that guidance in the invisible, even when you don't see it, but you know it. Like people are always there to guide you. So that's why I'm not intimidated by any challenge in my life, because I know that
Mm.
I have the ability to change anything, and I have the support to do that.
So beautiful. Look at you. I love that. How? I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand, right? Like you mentioned at the very beginning, something about it. You didn't really know what you wanted to do or what you wanted to pursue at the very beginning, before you took sort of meditation and all that kind of knowledge more serious. You were answering questions like based on societal conditioning or just like what you thought you wanted to be. And now you are very heart-centered and driven, what you want to create in this lifetime and also what you want to give back. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more about how that journey of finding your, yeah, call it purpose or call it like heart's desire or call it blueprint, whatever you want to call it, but how has that unfolded? How has that direction, once you have connected with your heart more, unfolded? And how was figuring that out or just like communicating with that? How was that?
That's another miraculous story. I mean, you know how people say that they want mystical experiences, uh, and I was never a big uh, I mean I mystical experiences are welcome, but I always thought that I wanted something more permanent. Like, what is the point of having a mystical experiences for 2 minutes and then going back to your own life and reality? Like, I mean, we always do that. I mean, that's not mystical, that's very orgasmic. Like when people have orgasm, it's the same thing. You have it for a second and then you're back in your reality. So I wanted something more sticking, more permanent. And that's what I noticed that my life has been. My entire life has been arranged in such a way that all pieces are falling together exactly as they should, in perfect synchronicity. And that just makes me like ball and wonder that how amazing my entire life has been. Only if somebody had told me when I was born that, hey, this is how it's going to be. um, to that, the question that you asked about like my purpose, that i got I woke up to my purpose after meeting the love of my life. So basically, after I met her, like after I awoke to the connection that she and I had at the Denver retreat, I started seeing lots of numbers. Like I started getting triggered a lot. I noticed all the patterns around relationships come up, but I noticed that instead of going back to my old conclusions that my old self would have gone into, I was using those triggers as releases. So every time a thought would come,
Mm.
uh, I would get triggered. I would see these synchronicities, see words, uh, both in my meditations or in some sort of subliminal state, and then I would find what does this number mean? For example, 1717, then 333222, then 33333. Like, they're coming in my meditations, and what do they mean? I had no idea. So I looked it up, and sort of I was like understanding, okay, this means that, but I still didn't know how that related. So I just like stayed with my knowledge that, okay, I don't want to collapse back to the old self. I just want to do whatever it is to remain centered and use it as a
Mm.
process to just uh, make my mind more unlimited rather than brittle. And that is how,
Yeah.
like, I started like opening up more and more. And then at the Marco Island retreat, right at the place where I was introduced to my next teacher, I got this download about what my purpose is and what the purpose of both of us is. Like, she and I, we both have very similar purpose, and it's related to, like, the consciousness of the world, and our own consciousness, and consciousness of the, like, the new generations, everything. And that's how I started getting these downloads, and I was like, that makes so much sense. I've always known it, that I wanted to do something that helped me in being in this world. I didn't want this work to be separate from my, like, 3D work
Mm.
life or my livelihood. And this is what exactly I would like love to do. But at that point of time, I still didn't know that was my purpose. I was like, okay, fine, that's a cool idea. I was working with my friend on a real estate app at that point of time. I continued with it. I felt good about the real estate app. I know that it makes a lot of logical sense, but I did not feel that I didn't feel that strong connection with it. Like, it was something good to
Mm.
have, but not something I really wanted to pursue. So I go to the 10-day Marco Island, the 10-day Cancun retreat in 2024 December. And I used to get, and that's where I got the idea of Think My Thought. Uh, and it's the kind of idea that presses forward. Like, how you get these thoughts that say, hey, follow me right now. You have to like follow through with me right now. I want to express myself. They sort of like, almost they're trying to push through and come to the forefront. So Think My
Mm.
Thought was something very similar. It was like hounding me every day that you have to build me right now. So right after the Cancun retreat, I I started building Think My Thought. I just built a very high level workflow of how it should look like, and the functionalities. And then it sort of fizzled out. I didn't work on it for a long time. Then again, like, in June of 2025, I picked it up again. Like, I was looking for co-founders because my friend who was working with me at the real estate app, she had gone on a maternity leave. So I was like, it would be good to get some help. And I was like trying to get co-founders, but nobody resonated with that app. And there was this one guy who said, okay, do you have a idea that we can launch in like 6 months or so? And I got, yeah, I do. And suddenly I shared with him the Think My Thought idea. But I noticed that he didn't resonate with it either. And he connected me to a friend of his from New York. And his friend apparently was looking for something similar to Think My Thought some time back, because he had founded a app that he wanted to sell. And but Think My Thought is not for that. So he had connected me, and even his friend didn't resonate. So I realized that this app needs to be built by me. It will be frequency specific to only certain level of consciousness. And that's how like I got a team of wonderful volunteers who have come forth from the community to help me build Think My Thought. And even then I was a little skeptical, like, okay, it's a cool idea, but then how does it contribute to my mission? My mission is to remain in a state of high state of consciousness myself, and just allow people the maximum amount of freedom to see their reality in a different way, to not succumb and fall victim to their reality, so that they can like live their reality just as freely as I'm living my reality, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when like newer ideas started flowing through me. And that's again happened in a very interesting way. I was going to the August week-long retreat at Marco Island in 2025, and I was doing really good at my job. I was like leading a few initiatives, but I never connected with my job, and I was like getting very, very annoyed. Like I noticed that my body didn't like the concept of Sunday because it knew that the Monday was coming, and I'd have to like be in that space of my work, and it just didn't like it. I didn't know for what reason. Um, so at the before going to Marco Island retreat, I remember I didn't take my work laptop, and I kept my work laptop on my desk, and very presently, with a lot of intention, I said that I'm not coming back to this, pointing to my work laptop. And I went to and after the retreat, when I came back, I noticed that a lot of changes happened in my work within like a week, and things started becoming chaotic. And that was like mid-September or so. And I knew that I would have to leave this job. Like I just cannot stay in this long term. And a lot of things were tied to that job, like my visa, all my life in US, like which has been my entire adult life, was tied to that job, or so I thought, you know. And so I was like
Mm-hmm.
tuning into myself and just figuring out like what does it mean, what is my next thing. What I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just wanted to be free from this job, just do something I really love. And then I had met this other community member in April, and she and I immediately this thought came that write to her. And she and I have been in touch, like we've been discussing Dr. Joe's work, Bashar's work, Ramtha's work. We've been like the masters, everything. And I just like, she's just a delight. Like whenever I talk to her, my heart just lights up, you know. It's so amazing to talk to her, and I can like talk to her for 3-4 hours without getting tired. Um, so I scheduled a meeting with her. We had our normal discussion, and then she said that she had downloads about doing something for kids, like doing some sort of a kids focused education system that helps them not forgetting, that helps them like incorporates Dr. Joe type work into that. And I remember that right after my Denver retreat, I was getting lots of downloads about how I would be raising my kids, you know. And like earlier in my life, I never had any inclination towards kids. I had no idea that I even wanted kids. But after the Denver retreat, the love of my life retreat, I started getting these downloads that okay, I would not be sending them to a public school. I would not let them get programmed by social consciousness. I'd be protecting them. I'd be letting them be who they are, because like when kids come to this world, they already are whole, you know. They already know a lot of things, and it's the social education system, social programming that takes that away from them. So I shared this with my with this other community member that, hey, how do you feel about this? Like, my thought has been that, okay, this is what we should do, because just doing something 3D focused just to ensure that they are safe and protected has already been done. Like, and they haven't worked out, right? Like, there are so many programs that's trying to fix kids, protect kids, but then they always fail at some point or the other. So I came up with this idea, and then the thoughts just started pouring in my mind. Like, I didn't even have to try to think, they were just like coming to me. So I created a plan for her, and then I realized that, hey, Think My Thought platform is exactly designed to do this. Like, it fits in wonderfully. And that's how we started discussing. And eventually, in November, I was shifted from my old work into my new work by somebody in the invisible, by myself in the invisible. So it was like funny story. Like, I went to the Orlando Abundance themed retreat in October and came back in November 1st, and I was so much in joy. I was like a little kid in a candy store. And there was so
Amazing.
much, yeah, there was so much joy. I was like listening to fun songs, and I was like making fun of the quantum field. I was like communicating with it. Like when I was coming back from the retreat from Orlando to New York, Orlando to Seattle. I live in Seattle now, and that was also guided to me by the field. That go and live in Seattle in your own house for 6 months. So when I was in my return flight, uh, I usually like get the other seat to be empty, so that I can have more space. That usually just like I just think of it, and the one of the seats is empty, or I get a very good seat. And this time I was like sitting in the middle of two people, and one of the people is the opposite of not of a seat being empty, if you know what I mean. Uh, and the very 180-degree opposite of that. And I was
Uh,
like making fun of the quantum field. I said, like, are you deaf? Is this what I asked of you? Are you deaf and blind? Do you not see that I asked for the completely opposite thing and you're giving me this? So that's the kind of dialogue I was having in my mind. I mean, people would have thought that I was delusional, and I was fine with that. I kept smiling the entire 5 hour long flight. No, it was 4 hours 22 minutes, and I kept smiling the entire time. And there was so much joy that I was having a hard time sitting in the squeezed seat in between the two people. And that joy sustained for a week. Even like when I was talking to my co-workers, I was in the meeting, I knew that everything was falling apart at my workplace. Like, everything had stagnated.
mm,
I was not able to get any work done. And but I felt okay with it. I felt okay with my coworkers. I was making fun of them, even though like they were trying to push all my buttons. Um and then there was
mm.
a meeting with my manager. I sat down for the meeting with just before meeting my manager. I got this download. I just sat down, and I started feeling very bad in my body. And I got this
Mm.
download that said that uh, we have moved you to a different job. Tell your manager that you are leaving. And I was like, okay, this is a big decision. How much can I trust it?
Wow, yeah.
But my body felt extremely good. Like, my body relaxed, it started breathing. Uh, but the thought of staying with the company just like brought back
Mm-hmm.
feelings of death, like that's how it was
Mm.
happening. And then I was like asking myself, and I was listening to this transmission by Bashar on YouTube. And I remember just exactly when I was asking, like, should I leave? Bashar was saying, then leave, then leave. He emphasized this word, leave.
Mm.
He was answering somebody else's question, but that's the one that came into my mind. So I sort of like followed this. I tested with my body for a little bit longer, and next day eventually I gave my 2 weeks notice. And I had told myself that if I leave this company, even though like they were the ones who were imposing all rules on me, like my manager and my HR, they were saying you can't do this, you can't do that, blah blah blah. They would have meetings, they would give me warnings, and I would just stay. I would just sit very quietly, very present, and I just had this separation. I knew it was not true, and they were like acting. That was the complete realization. I wasn't even trying to be that way. It was like all natural for me. And I would tell them, I would
Mm.
like play these things in my mind. Okay, yeah, this is happening. I knew that I would leave on my own terms. I just had this decision that if I'm
Mm.
going to leave, I'm going to leave on my on own terms. Nobody's going to fire me. And eventually, on 7th of November, I gave out my 2 weeks notice. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I'm going to manage my immigration thing, but I knew that I was going to stay in US because I have been reborn here. Um, so I just decided that yeah, whatever it is, you have to give me the answer. I'm just going to enjoy myself, and that's how like eventually I got the next day I was in my meditation in the morning after like uh, on the last day of my job, and I was thinking like what should I put on my LinkedIn, like what is my next job. I've never had a space in my LinkedIn like not working
Mm.
throughout my entire career, and I got this company name, Consciousness Elevation Alliance. I was like, who? Okay, there must be this company. Maybe they'll be giving me a job or offering some from somewhere. I googled. I didn't find a company by that name, Consciousness Elevation Alliance. I was like, okay, fine. So that means I don't know where it's going to come from, but it's going to come from somewhere. And then eventually, it became very clear that uh, I was the one who was supposed to set it up. I was the one who was supposed to give myself the job. And then also the immigration path came forward beautifully. Like there's a separate category
Mm.
of visas. It's called a founder-led extraordinary ability visa, and I arranged it myself because I knew that I couldn't go to the lawyers. They would be very fear based, and they would be giving me consultation based on fear. I mean, I did go to the lawyer just to like trigger myself so that I can release all of the remaining fears, that I had around immigration. So this lawyer, he triggered me for like half an hour, and then I remained triggered for I think 1 or 2 days, and then I woke up with a lot of joy. So I knew that all the survival fear, the fear of ostracism, that's something my teacher had told me when the trouble at work started. That in my morning meditation, I got this voice telling me that we are releasing your fear of ostracism, because that's something I've noticed since my childhood. That even in my family settings, we had to like leave our home and move to another home because we were not wanted in certain places, like in a joint family setting. And I knew that I was carrying it
Mm.
from lifetimes back, the fear of ostracism, that fear that I would be asked to leave my home, my
Mm.
group of people. And I carried it in my relationships as well, that the person I love the most would be rejecting me, asking me to leave, and I would be left alone. So that was what was being released. And so I became very easy with whatever was going on with me, around me. And still, like, even yesterday, I got a big trigger, and I was like, that was fun. um, and and then like yeah, I mean, I built up my petition for the United States Immigration Services, and the lawyers gave me the whole spiel that, oh, with this administration, you may never be able to come back to US and blah 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 blah. You're on very thin ice. I was like, all right, uh, I'm doing whatever is the law, and we'll see what happens. I'm staying here in the US. Uh, Everything has to rearrange around me. I'm not compromising at all. Um, so that's how
I
it
love
happened.
that.
Like everything got take yeah, everything got taken care of perfectly. I saved around $30,000, what people usually spend on these like law firms that do that
Mm.
basically create this fake profile for people to get this extraordinary visa. But as I went through my own career, I saw that I already had an extraordinary profile. I had written papers in my undergrad college, which were accepted by some of the very prestigious conferences like IEEE and Springer. And those papers were cited in other papers, and they were cited in other patents. I didn't even know that. I hadn't even opened
Wow.
those sites up. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I thought that what was the use of those papers? I mean, I've never got to use those. I mean, I thought that they would get me Stanford or Berkeley or MIT. I had applied to Stanford, Berkeley, and MIT when I was like coming for my MS, like my master's in computer science from India. But I was just left with, I didn't get into any of those colleges. I got USC, and then I was happy that I got USC. So like now I knew why those papers were important, because like they paved the path for this specific kind of visa that requires a certain level of leadership in a certain field.
Mm.
And also I had got these awards from my previous employers like ADP and all, and I used those as well. I thought that those would just be papers, but everything came beautifully together into a nice bouquet. And
Wow.
so
I
yeah,
love that. It makes so much sense. From like now
ex-
looking back, and in the moment in the past, you're like, what the hell? But there will be a moment where everything makes sense. I love that.
exactly. And I remember like after my first retreat, I used to think like, how do I get freedom? Like, how do I get that huge amount of money that
Mm.
would allow me to leave my job and everything? And my head would just turn to, they have the jack pocket. I mean, in US you have these commercials that talk about uh, apps that help you with the lottery and all. um, like people use the apps to buy lottery, and my head kept turning to this app called Jackpocket playing on the TV. The TV, I mean, I used to go to this gym and it used to be there on the TV. I was thinking,
Mm.
am I supposed to play a lottery? I mean, I can do that, but
Mhm.
like, um, and now I realize I already had won the jackpot. I just didn't realize it then.
Amazing. What I also absolutely love is that you are like, I'm not gonna compromise. Reality is gonna arrange around me. And because you are embodying this, because you're believing this, it is happening. I love that. And I also love that you're running towards your fears. There is a saying, I believe, like, if you run for your, like, run away from your fear, they're gonna haunt you. But if you run at your fear, they're gonna be haunted by you. So like they're gonna disappear basically. And then he simply went to this lawyer just to get triggered. I
Yeah,
absolutely love that, and just to release that. Wow,
yeah,
that's
like
so good. What do you do? Like, how do you move through these triggers? I absolutely love that you face your fears, and then because you mentioned like there were 1 or 2 days where you felt absolutely triggered. Can you take us maybe a little bit how you move through that? I mean, it's already amazing that you face them consciously. I think that's a big part of the story too. And then how, I don't know, how do you? Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, part of the process I have already shared in the Seeds app. I think one of the Seeds had a question around, I think he had to go to the ER and he was feeling triggered by anxiety because his mom was in the ER. And so I had sort of like shared this voice memo sort of to act as two purpose. Like basically voice is like me transmitting my frequency to him so that he calms down, and then I take him through the sequence of steps that I do to sort of like ride that wave of trigger, right? So I cannot go into the full details of it because this is a teaching by one of my teachers and I don't have the permission to share the full teaching. But it's basically just like being aware and sort of like having distance from the thoughts that are coming, and just having this understanding that thoughts are something, that also having the realization that a negative feeling or a negative thought, it doesn't have to be true unless I granted the permission to be true, you know. For example, one thing I've
Mm,
noticed, like in our community, especially people who are following Dr. Joe's work or some of the other I guess like YouTube manifestors and stuff, like they say, oh, you have to feel good all the time. If you don't feel good, the door
mm,
closes. If you don't feel amazing, like happy, that means you're not manifesting your dream life. I mean, that itself is programming the person for failure, because the person realizes that
mm,
if I slip even a little bit, that means I'm failing. That means all the work that I've done so far has gone to naught, you know, like gone to, has been nullified. And that used to be one of my fears earlier on.
yeah.
Like, I used to feel that, oh, in a day, if I just feel one bad thought, or if I just have one bad thought, does it mean that I lost everything? I lost everything that I spent a week creating. And this teacher has freed me from that. Like, he has basically, the whole idea is that we should not be too tied to thoughts and feelings, you know, because these are chemical. It's the consciousness
Yeah.
that matters. So if you can like feel through those thoughts and the feelings that are coming, just like be present with yourself and know that they are going to pass through you, just like the wind moves across the ocean surface. You see that there are waves and ripples, but eventually the wind passes through, right? And you have the still ocean. So if you can have that mindset that, okay, whatever is coming, I know that I am more powerful. I know that the power of the universe, unconditional love is within me, and it is not going to trick me. It is not going to like say, oh, okay, let's see how you feel being tricked. Oh, you wanted this, see, now you're getting that. It's not doing that. It's like very human thinking that we are going to get betrayed or tricked. But if we can just be
Mm,
present with our body and just let the emotions pass through, whatever we are feeling is perfect, you know, it's just a state. um, that has been game changing for me. I just like let things come up. I even like go digging in my body and my mind. Okay, if there's something hiding in some corner, I want to like pull it by the ear, bring it to light, and let it go.
yes.
So yeah,
That's so
that's what I do.
important. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing and expressing that. I think that's so important. I think, yeah, that's something everyone sort of kind of goes through. Like, that's like a kind of common stage, I feel like. I've been there too, where you suddenly think, oh, I need to be on my A game all the time, but then you're becoming a person that is living in lack, because if you're not that one way, then suddenly that means like everything is nullified, like you said. But when you're whole, it doesn't matter. Like if your consciousness, and like no matter what you're feeling, when you just know this is just a phase and I'm allowed to feel that, and nothing bad is going to happen when I feel this, and just move through this and everything is going to be fine. The other way, though, creates much more stress in return if you deny to feel everything fully. And that, like, we all have emotions. We all feel anger, sadness, grief, and it's totally normal. And there's nothing wrong with you. I think it's very healthy to feel all emotions, and then just move through them. And when you move through them, you then also don't get stuck. So embrace them all. They are part of wholeness too.
Exactly. I mean, it's okay to feel them. What I don't do is I don't add to them. Like, I don't try to suppress them. I don't try to uh, have any dialogues. Okay, so and so this did this, so I'm going to attack that person. That means that that person is like that. I don't have any of that. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have any conclusions at that point of time. That why is this happening? How is it happening? I just like to remain inconclusive for as long as I can, so that I can go to a deeper order of reality, deeper order of energy. And yeah, I mean, my teacher has a 6 hour or 7 hour lecture, and when I got that lecture, I knew that that was a life changing lecture. I had also seen a white rose on my path the day I got that lecture, and white rose is of some significance in my journey. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. That was really, really wonderful. I loved listening to it all, and that was really nourishing, everything. Thank you so much for sharing your journey for now. Is there anything that you would like to convey? Like the last time, I usually ask all my guests, when the hero returns from their journey. I mean, the journey is ever going, but like from what you have gone through so far and what you have experienced, what is the one thing that you would love to share with the community?
Presence. Presence, in whatever way it means to you. My presence, I'm always present with the community in so many different ways. I know I'm out of the healing and out of the groups, the youth groups, but that's something I had to do because of my guidance, because of the guidance that I'd received, and there's a reason for that as well. And it's just that being present with ourselves, and knowing that in a state of presence we have control over everything, and we don't even have to act. We don't have to do anything, because the God in us, the divine in us, it already knows what we want. It just wants us to just step back, move out of the way. And like, the journey to manifestation is a journey to a state of presence. That's what my experience has been.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for today, for this wholesome episode. And yes, just very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MC. Thank you.
All right. So then, thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful episode. That was really wholesome, and I loved being here with you guys. I know that you can take away something from this beautiful journey, and I see you in the next episode. See you soon. Bye.